Chairperson Rana Hudson. The Bishop designates the Secretary and the Registrar, my good friend, Koshipi Varghese Hudson, all the distinguished leaders of FFRRC on the dais and off the dais, graduating students, continuing students, and the family members of the graduating students and well-wishers. I greet you all very warmly on this most auspicious occasion. At the very outset, may I congratulate the outgoing students of FFRRC. Your period of study, for most parts, may have been hampered in many ways by the unprecedented COVID pandemic. I praise God for keeping you safe and enabling you to complete the course despite various constraints. I wish you God's blessings on your life and your future ministry. I thank the FFRRC leadership for extending this invitation to me to give the valedictory address. I have entitled this address as being host and guest of God's love for reconciliation and unity. Being host and guest of God's love for reconciliation and unity. I have chosen this name for two major considerations. The first is the forthcoming WCC General Assembly, and the other is our prevailing national context of India. The World Council of Churches is gearing up, hopefully, to meet for the 11th Assembly in Germany during 31st August through 8th September 2022. This was originally scheduled to have assembled in 2021, but had to be rescheduled because of the pandemic COVID-19. The rescheduling of the assembly marks a resolution of hope and resilience of faith of this global Christian community to come together to reaffirm our reliance in the triune God, who alone is our refuge, to look up for peace, grace, and guidance in all situations of life, including the pandemic. The theme selected for the assembly, as we may know, is Christ's love, moving the world to reconciliation and unity. My general observations of this theme is elaborated in my article in the recent issue of the National Council of Churches Review, and hence I do not elaborate on them at this moment. While we are desiring for unity, what kind of unity that we imagine needs for analysis and reflection. We need to be mindful of the mantra of oneness and the mirage of unity being popularized in many parts of the world at the cost of distinct and different identities. This is becoming a concern in our national context also. It goes without saying that India is not just a piece of land or a group of people occupying the land. India as a nation is a vision, imagination, and dream. Our founding fathers like Mahatma Gandhi and great visionaries like Rabindranath Tagore and scores of unnamed great sons and daughters of this land were pursuing a dream called India as an experience of truth, freedom, and fraternity. In the 21st century, it is our duty to cherish these ideals and to make our country a better and beautiful one to inhabit and enjoy. In other way, we have to hope and move to a renewed and reconciled India. Even though we are geographically and politically united as one nation, are we one in the spirit? Love and life is the big question this time. It is of course not an easy task. There are numerous challenges that fracture the fragile unity in India, including those tendencies and forces that distort the democratic texture of our nation and fracture the harmonious coexistence of people of different faiths, religions, races, and regions. There is an ominous stream rolling of a major or unitary narrative with an aggressive articulation and systematic popularization of a pan-Indian identity with a new mantra of oneness. This imaginary construct of oneness is packaged as the most glorious future for every Indian and the Indian nation, where there is a fantasy of one nation, one ID, one Aadhaar card, one ration card, one culture, and one civil code. One might apprehend, in the long run, get extended to one language, one diet, and perhaps one religion, and perhaps more ominously, one leader. Our great challenge is to resist this oligarchical, authoritarian, and all-consuming oneness and to hold on to the foundational narrative of our nation, unity in diversity, which is to be enshrined in our personal, social, and national life more than ever before. In other words, the Pauline metaphor of the unity of the body, despite the many and different organs, is to be embraced more than ever. Considering the Christological affirmation of the WCC team, Christ's love moving the world towards reconciliation and unity, which is another Pauline emphasis and the mirage of unity we witness in our present day world. Our challenge is to reimagine and embody God's love in our everyday life. I want to suggest that we are called to being host and guest of God's love to the unknown other or stranger, and that too in a hostile world. Being and becoming host and guest of God's love to the stranger in a hostile world. One of our fundamental affirmations about God is that God is love. God is both the host and guest of love. God, as the host of love, showers love extravagantly on all without segregating the recipients as worthy or unworthy. We also affirm that God's love in Jesus Christ is the epitome, as it is an outpouring of self-giving love for the ultimate good of the world. It is only just days since in the Holy Week, we have been remembering with gratitude the ultimate prodigality of God's love offered unconditionally and in an unlimited manner in giving His only begotten Son to die on the cross. Cross in this way is the hosting of God's love. As a father in the parable of the prodigal son killed the fattened calf for his wayward children. In addition to being a host of love, God, on the other hand, is portrayed as a guest of love as well. All the prophets were exhorting people to accept God as a guest into their personal, familial, social, and national life. Again, in these post-Easter days, we are getting to reflect on the Emmaus story as narrated by Luke on how the two disciples invited the risen Christ into their homes and hosted Him at the table. One of the lasting images